Hello everyone, today I want to talk about giving feedback. Part of the observation process is going in, gathering information, putting it into a form, claims, evidence that you can then give feedback to an educator. And sometimes this is incredibly positive, sometimes it's critical feedback that you have to provide to support teaching and learning. So a couple tips that I wanted to share today about giving feedback. I talk about being impactful, meaning be specific. What exactly is the feedback you're giving to the teacher? What did you see? Give evidence of that, and then give feedback specifically on what that teacher can improve or what you saw that was impactful to that teacher so that they continue to do it. Also in your feedback, be realistic. If it's a teacher in the first few years, if you're giving them feedback that you'd give a veteran teacher, that might not be realistic to that teacher. If it's also a teacher who may be just learning a new technology tool and you give them feedback that is 2, 3, 4 steps ahead of their learning, that's not realistic to that teacher. So make sure you're specific, realistic, and timely. If you see something and then give feedback weeks later, it's going to lose the impact. So to give impactful feedback, when you see it, that turnaround time should be very quick so that teacher remembers the discussion and lesson that they taught, and you can give that feedback. And in that process, be fair. You have to have this information given to the teacher and not the first time you saw that teacher. I stressed in an earlier video to make sure to be in classrooms multiple times before you do your first formal observation, because then you can give that fair feedback to see patterns over time. Talking about patterns, that's for the observer as well. Be consistent in your feedback. If one day you talk about a specific thing and then another day something very, very different, it doesn't help the receiver gather that feedback if you are not consistent in your delivery. If you like to give written feedback, give that consistently. If you meet in your room, do that consistently. If you meet in the teacher's room, when you're giving this feedback, the more consistent you are, the more that the listener will be able to understand that feedback. Also, I talked about specific, but in that being specific, be actionable. What can the person put into action the next day in their lesson? Part of seeing, observing, and giving feedback is to either change practice or affirm practice. And if it's something that you want to be changed, make sure you help with giving those action steps to make it happen. And remember, while you're giving this feedback, you're talking about the behavior or the observation of that feedback, not the person. This isn't a personal discussion about the individual. That could, if needed, happen, but when you do a lesson observation, you're giving specific, realistic, timely feedback that they can act on to talking about the lesson in the activity. So those are just a few things that you can be when you're giving that impactful feedback.